good idea to have an occupation that required you to read 8 books? I'd like a word with them. Hello, my lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about how I did in February and what I'll be reading in March. If you remember from the last TBR, I just barely managed to squeak by in the last year of Questmore, and we went into the second year with high hopes of me actually reading all of the books I said I was going to read, and I did a decent job of reading most of these. There definitely is room for improvement here. Before we get into Fablen, and I will have timestamps in the description box if you want more information for any of these things. Before we get into Fablen, there are a few reading things that I am going to be involved in, like read-alongs, readathons, those kinds of things. That's going to affect what I have to put on my TBR because there are 3 books that I know for sure I have to read, the 4 books that I know for sure that I have to read this month. I think we're going to just go chronologically in how things are happening and when the live shows for each thing are. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Readathon. Readathon is a readathon put on by Books with Chloe and Monica Kim every now and then. They had to skip last year, but usually it's like a yearly thing that happens. There are a whole bunch of fun prompts that are book related. There are some like culture related prompts, and it is taking place from March 7th through the 13th. I believe it is. The group book for Readathon is going to be Winter in Sokcho, and it is by Elisa Chua Dusapan. What I understand, this was first written in French, and it is by a French-Korean author. Like the author, the main character of this is also French-Korean, and she works as a receptionist at a guest house in Sokcho. It's a tourist town in between South and North Korea, and she ends up forming a relationship with a French cartoonist that wants to see the authentic Korea, except that he's not really interested in the parts of Sokcho that she knows. It says, an exquisitely crafted debut, which won the Prix Robert Walzer. Winter in Sokcho is a novel about shared identity and divided selves, vision and blindness, intimacy and alienation. I am really interested to read this, and I love the fact that it is nice and short. After that, I am also going to be taking place in like the live ship read along that Bethany over at Beautifully Bookish Bethany is doing. I'm one of the co-hosts, so I need to make sure that I read Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. I have no idea what this one particularly is about. I've been trying not to read the synopsis because I don't know if it's going to spoil anything for the Farseer trilogy, which is Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest. I am currently making my way through those. I definitely know that I need to read this so that I will be able to discuss it. Luckily, my library does have it on audiobook, so I should be able to listen to it. The live show for that, I believe, is going to be the 3rd Thursday in March. And then we have the 2 things that I will be doing. The first one is going to be Voltathon. For that, I need to read Fruit of the Drunken Tree by Ingrid Rojas Contreras. This is about 2 young women growing up in Bogota, Colombia, and one of them is very rich. She lives a very sheltered life, and then the other one is brought into her home. She is hired as a maid by the first girl's mother. It's about the 90s in Colombia, which is under like the reign of Pablo Escobar, and it says, it is inspired by the author's own life. Fruit of a Drunken Tree is a powerful testament to the impossible choices women are often forced to make in the face of violence and the unexpected connections that can blossom out of desperation. If you're interested in more information on my little Disney-themed readathon, I have the announcement video that is right up there. And then the final book that I know I need to read in March is The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. This is one of the group books for my book club that I'm doing with Novel Serendipity. We read 1 fiction and 1 non-fiction book every month. The fiction book was Stalking Jack the Ripper, which I read last month, and then this is going to be the non-fiction choice. The live show for this, we haven't decided yet. We'll figure it out, but it will probably be like sometime at the beginning of April, I'm thinking. Those are all of the things. I will have all of the announcement videos, any information that you need linked down below in the description box so you can find out more stuff. But like, let's keep that in mind as we go into this round of Fablen. Now it is time to check in with our beloved Magdalene Embercloak and find out how she did in her 2nd year at Questmore Academy for Adventurous Exploits. I will have the book that fit the prompt up behind me, but I'm not going to go into any detail because this isn't everything that I read in the month of February, and it's not a wrap-up. Now, Magdalene's year started out quite interestingly because she found out kind of right off the bat, year 2, that she is in fact the prophesied chosen one. She did not see that one coming. Who would have chosen a scholar for the chosen one. She handled that about as well as one can be expected to, which basically means that she put her head down and kept on with her life despite all of the new crowding worries in her head. Now, the second year of Questmore is when our questers really get to know their animal companions. Luckily, Magdalene had a little bit of a head start because her animal companion is a bear that she has actually raised since it was a cub. It's already very much in tune with who she is, so they passed their animal handling class with flying colors. The second year of Questmore is also when Magdalene chose to do her internship with a paladin. Each student at Questmore does get to do an internship with an older adventurer. It helps them get to know the ropes of questing in Fablen and the different nuances that you need to know as you are working with the various peoples of Fablen. Now, the paladin that Magdalene chose to intern with, they have a very interesting style of teaching, a part of which involves a lot of just throwing you at the problem and seeing how you do. Case in point, the paladin took Magdalene to a dark forest in the middle of the night and said, "All right, find your way home from here," and then left her to fend for herself. Now, the thing that Magdalene's mentor did not know is that Briarshire Swamp, the place that Magdalene was raised, the place she grew up, it's a little bit weird in and of itself. She is used to having to deal with strange occurrences in the dark and mysterious dealings, so she wasn't quite as fazed as they were expecting her to be. She did make it home a little dusty, a little bruised. She's got a new scar above her eyebrow, but she did manage to pass this particular test. Having been exposed to the eccentricities of her mentor, Magdalene decided that it was probably a good idea for her to stock up on a few things. So she ended up in Farwater with a very meticulous list of things that she thought may be helpful for her should her mentor ever decide to do one of those just throw you out into the wilderness kinds of weird quests again. Don't think that trip was all business, though. She did happen to get intrigued by a little game of chance that she happened to see on the street, and so she sat down. They had 3 different options for her to choose from, and she managed to track her option every single time. Now, it just so happens that this paladin is friends with Merlin. Yes, that Merlin. Merlin is a rather scattered and forgetful person, as you could expect from someone with his level of wisdom and knowledge. There's a lot going on in that noggin. He does not necessarily have time to keep track of the things that he should keep track of, and he happened to lose a very important ring. Now, hearing about Merlin's missing ring, the paladin decided that this would probably be a very good opportunity for a very low-level quest. They just thought, you know, the ring can't have gotten very far. It has to be somewhere in Merlin's tower. They underestimated Merlin's ability to lose things. They forgot that there is always magic involved when you had a wizard. Who knows where the ring was? The important part is Magdalene was not able to find it despite turning the tower top to bottom. The consequence for not completing this quest is to read a book that is 50 pages longer than the book that you didn't finish. Luckily, I did not use any of my superpowers, so... And that's a 4. All right, so I need to find a book that is at least 343 pages. And the final thing that Magdalene did this year was having the eccentric mentor that she had. She thought it might be a good idea to brush up on the flora and fauna that are common around Fablen. So she happened to borrow a field guide of common flora and fauna from a classmate. In true scholarly fashion, she took copious notes from this book. She managed to create a small, compact guide with all of the interesting little tidbits that she thought would be useful. Now that we know how I did it, it's time to pick my quests. So I did add a few back in here of quests that I did not complete, and then I added a couple new ones. There are a couple of new ones that I would like to pull out. There are a couple old ones I would like to pull out. Let's see, what's this one? So our first quest is... perfect! It is Night at the Tavern, which is to read a book that was the group book for a book club or readathon. That one's definitely going to be an easy one because I have several. The next quest we have is... Whoops, I just dumped all of those. Ask an NPC for directions. Okay, so I have to go to my DMs and ask the last person that I messaged to recommend me a book. And then I'll ask again if I do not have access to that book. Next. And we got finding the wizard's ring again. So apparently I'm hanging out with Merlin some more. Okay, 3 down, 5 to go. That one. Shape-shifting 101. Read a book that shares a trait to the book you last read. Prompt number 5 is going to be throw together a traveling acting troupe. Read a book that has been made into a movie. This is prompt number 6. Helping out at the family business. Read a book with strong family relationships. 21. Interspecies relations. Roll a d6 and read a book that meets the TBR requirement of a species besides your own. Reroll if you get your own species. Okay, so let's do that real quick. Where's my d6? Boop, there it is. Rolling my d6. That's a 1, which means human. So I need to read a contemporary. And that's 7. I've got 1 more, thank goodness. Okay. 27 is bonding over your tragic backstory. Read a book published prior to 2020. Okay, this is some stuff I think I can work with. Let's see what we can do with all of this. So for Night at the Tavern, I am going to be reading Winter at Sokcho, since that I'm already reading that for Readathon. If I can't get my hands on this in time for the Readathon, I have another book that I am planning on using to fulfill that. I'll just use my lawful evil powers again. If I fail this quest, I will have to add pages to a quest next month for Ask an NPC for Directions, which is where I went into my DMs and asked for recommendations. So that last DM I sent was to the Avengers Initiative Reading Challenge group, so I asked them. And Brianna said, All the Feels by Olivia Day. This is the sequel to Spoiler Alert, which we read last year. Highly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what she'll do with this. I have been feeling very rom-com-y, so this is going to be perfect. This is about Alex and Lauren, and they're 2 characters that we met in Spoiler Alert. Alex is another actor in the show with the main actor that is in Spoiler Alert, and then Lauren is kind of his minder. She is a relative of the showrunners, and she's kind of been tasked with making sure he doesn't do anything stupid because he has a penchant for getting himself into trouble. I'm also going to be using this to double up on the prompt for interspecies relation because I rolled to do a contemporary. Since I am lawful evil, I can use 1 book to cover 2 quests. It just means that I will need to roll with disadvantage next month for one of the, if I face any consequences, or one of them. So for my second shot at finding the wizard's ring, I'm going to read Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. From what I remember, there are these ships. They're called alive ships. They're magical in some way, and they can bond with the people who are sailing them. I believe they have some level of sentience because of how they're made, or the wood they're made from, or something like that. But she has a couple of pieces of jewelry on her. She's got a bracelet and some stuff in her hair, so that will fit that prompt. For Shape-shifting 101, I'll be reading Fruit of the Drunken Tree. So the last book I finished, as of right now, was Forest of Stolen Girls, which is a historical fiction. This is also technically historical fiction, even if that makes me feel weird. It's set in the 90s, so I guess, you know, historical events are happening. For throwing together an acting troupe, I am going to be reading Pachinko because they are going to be making a movie, or there is a movie that is coming out, I believe, later this year, and I do want to see it. So I'm going to be reading Pachinko by Minjin Lee. This is, I believe, set... It looks like it's set around World War I or II era Korea, and it follows, it's like a family saga. Also, if I need to, I can use this to cover the first prompt, Night at the Tavern, if I need to. I'm trying not to combine too many because I don't want to have to roll every consequence with disadvantage, but doing our best. And then for helping out at the family business, I am going to be reading Persepolis Rising by James S.A. Corey. This is the 7th book in the Expanse series. It is the final, like, the Expanse is kind of like a bunch of duologies that are linked together, and then a final trilogy, the last, they're all one part of one arc. So this is starting the final arc for this series. I'm very nervous about it. Not okay, but we're gonna read it. This is about, basically, The Expanse is about this ragtag team that their ship gets blown up. They end up being chased by Martians across our solar system. They're humans, but they live on Mars, so it's complicated. It's in the future. There are always a lot of family dynamics in these books, especially in regards to the crew of the Rossi, because they have become their own family, so I will be reading that. It is also a science fiction book, so that will fulfill one of my character traits. If I didn't mention before, All the Feels is going to fulfill the punishment for not finishing The Sweetest Remedy, and it is also going to fulfill my magical ability requirement to read a book with 200 or more pages. And then for bonding over your tragic backstory, I'm going to pull out The Five by Hallie Rubenhold. So that is what I will be reading for the month of March. If you are feeling chatty, go ahead and let me know in the comments what is one book that you are reading in March. If you are not feeling chatty but you want to let me know that you watched to the end of the video, go ahead and leave a little shamrock emoji for March, since St. Patrick's Day is this month. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out these videos over here. I will have my latest Fablen recommendations video up here, and I'll have whatever is newest on my channel right here. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!